Well, they do that every once in a while, don't they? I have no idea how this thing's going to go this morning, but we're going to start it off and just take it from there. How's that? Does everybody understand and know? Maybe some of you don't, maybe some of you are new to all this. But Israel had looked for their Messiah for years and years and years. They had prophecy after prophecy that he would come. It was foretold where he would be born, and how he would be born, what his lineage would be. He was going to be a root out of Jesse. He was going to come as a descendant of King David, and on the list goes. I mean, we could be here all day talking about all the promises made concerning him and the prophecies. But when he came, they missed it. He came into his own, and his own received him not. But to as many as received him. Somebody say, thank God for that, because that's how I got in. As many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God. Jesus said, I am come in my Father's name, and you received me not. That's just the way it was. He was in the temple. He was every day teaching and preaching and living before them, and they saw the miracles and the signs and the wonders, and yet they still didn't receive him. He said, if another shall come in his own name, him ye will receive. May I tell you, this world is not looking for Jesus. Now, I'm looking for Jesus, but this world is not looking for Jesus. There's a character in the Bible, and there's a whole lot said about him, and I don't know how far we'll get on it, but we call him the Antichrist, because he's everything opposite of what Christ was. He will be, along with his cohorts, the false trinity. He will be the leader of all the known world. Now, you wonder how that can happen. Has anybody caught on to this? Yes. There's a cry going on out all around the world. They don't want borders. They don't want various countries. They want us all to be one thing all over the world. A call for one world government and one world order. As a matter of fact, is there anybody in here that worked for a company for years and they gave you a retirement for working for them? Well, you know what they want? They want the same thing you got, but they don't want to work for it. Yeah. And that's the way the mood of the world is right now. And you know what the Antichrist is going to do? He's going to do what no other leader in the world has ever done. He's going to divide the spoil with the people. He's going to take from the haves and give to the have-nots, and nobody will be rich and nobody will be poor. Probably all will be poor, but anyway, he's going to give everybody an equal piece of the pie. Matter of fact, he's going to be the man of the hour when he finally takes his rule and his reign. He's not going to come in and conquer this world with an army. He's going to win it with flattering words. He's going to speak sweet things and things people want to hear. And didn't the Bible tell us in the last day they'd turn away themselves from the truth and turn to themselves teachers having itching ears? He's going to say what people want him to say. He's going to speak the language. In Germany, back in its history, there was a young paper hanger. And he worked as a part-time cobbler, repairing shoes. But he began making speeches around Germany, and before long, he was the leader of the Third Reich. And you know the atrocities he done. He was a type of the Antichrist, but he wasn't the Antichrist. In Daniel 8 and 9, it tells us a little bit. It said, out of one of them, now Daniel was given a vision of all the great kingdoms of the world. He went through Egypt and Nebuchadnezzar and the Medes and the Persians and Alexander the Great and the Roman Empire. and all of the great empires of the world. He had a picture of them, but out of one of them, he said, came forth a little horn, which waxed great exceedingly toward the south and toward the east, and toward the pleasant land, which is the land of Israel. And it waxed great even to the host of heaven. And it cast down some of the host of the stars to the ground and stamped upon them. Do you know when the devil done his rebellion that 1/3 of the angels came with him? Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, which is Jesus. And by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, in the place of his sanctuary was cast down. Some people are looking for the temple to be rebuilt before Jesus could come again, but that's not kind of the way it works. As a matter of fact, one of the things that the Antichrist will do to gain favor with Israel and gain favor with people is he'll allow them to rebuild their temple during the first 3.5 years of what we call the tribulation period. We'll get to that a little bit later on. Here's what Jesus had to say about it. He said it's a time like never has been. In other words, it's going to be the worst thing that ever hit earth when it finally takes place. I'll give you some words of encouragement concerning that in a little bit. Stay with me. And a host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of the transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground. I mean, those truth is hard to come by in our day and hour, and it's going to be further removed when the Antichrist begins to rule and reign in this world. Truth will be hard to find. And the reason I'm telling you that is you better search for it and seek for it and look for it right now while it can be found. And Jesus said, I am the life, the truth, and the way. So when you don't know Jesus, you don't know truth yet. And you can't find truth. It's only found through him, and all other truth is revealed through him. And cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered. In other words, it just grew and got bigger and bigger. Then I heard one of the saints speaking to another, and said unto that certain saint which spake, how long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden underfoot? And he said unto me, into 300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. Now I'm starting back there, and now I'm going to back up. Here's how we know that Jesus is coming again. We see all the things that Jesus told us to look for. We see a falling away. We see evil abounding. People being unthankful, unholy, disobedience to parents, without natural affection, implacable. All of those things that he described to us. We see Israel back in its homeland. First time since before Jesus was here on earth that Israel became a nation again in 1948, the year I was born. Me and Israel was the same age. They're a little older. They was born in May and I was born in September. So they're already 71 and I'll be 71 soon. But anyway, Israel is back in its homeland. God said, I'm going to scatter them to the north, south, east, and the west, but in the last days, I'm going to bring them back to the land of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and they're there. He also said, when they're back there dwelling safely, when they're back there in their land, that he's going to cause a group of people. He named that group of people. Russians, he didn't call them Russia, he called them Meshach and Tubal in Ezekiel 38 and 39. They're a part of it. Persia's a part of it. Persia is Iraq, Iran, and Afghanistan until 1935, and they were split up into those three countries. And he talked about Syria, and he talked about Turkey, and he talked about all parts of Germany, and all of those are going to get together and go down to that land that has been brought back, to that land of Israel. And they're going down there to seek us, to actually drive them into the sea, to seek a a spoil and a prey. And when they go down to that land, if you want to read Ezekiel 38 and 39, when they head down to that land, God's going to do something. It's called the Battle of Hamon-Gog. A lot of people mistake it for the Battle of Armageddon, but the Battle of Armageddon comes after the 7-year tribulation period, not before. But this battle will take place shortly before or shortly after the rapture of the church. And I can't tell you which. But let me tell you what. When that war takes place, out of the aftermath of that war, the Antichrist will make his ascension as a world leader. The world will be crying for peace, looking for somebody to bring us out of the economic morass that we're in. As a matter of fact, when the European Common Market was started back in Brussels years ago, the leader of it said, "Give us a man. Be he a god or be he a devil, give us a man that'll lead us out of this economic morass that we're in, and we'll follow him." And that's what they'll do. They're looking for somebody to solve all those problems. You and I know that no problem can be solved until you have a right relationship with him. But this world's looking for a different Messiah. They're looking for a Messiah that'll give them a utopia. A place here on earth where it's just pleasant and good, and everybody is equal, and everybody has the same thing. And matter of fact, one of the politicians that's running for office now said he'd like to give everybody a check. Those that want to work and those that don't want to work. Well, let me ask you this. If you think, if I offered you $1,000 if you work and $1,000 if you don't work, how many not workers do you think you'll have? You'll have quite a few of them. Matter of fact, we've made it so we take away people's incentive to work. I got a member of my family that gets medicated and gets SNAP and gets this and gets that. And I'm not saying that those are bad things, but what they were meant for is a bridge to get you over a tough place, not a way of life.
Amen.
And the point is, when you get in that way of life, it takes away your incentive to do anything else because you'll lose all them freebies. Well, anyway, get off of that. So a war is going to take place, and out of that war, the Antichrist is going to rise his throne, this little horn we were talking about. He's going to come out of obscurity. He's going to come out of nowhere. He's in this world today, but he's not a prominent figure. He's not anybody. I believe he'll be a Syrian-born Jew, and I ain't got time to go into all that for you. But anyway, that's where I believe he'll come from. But anyway, he'll make what marks the beginning of the 70th week of Daniel, or that tribulation period. And I know this is deep cotton. Hang on. We'll try to settle it for you. I know that when that hour comes and that moment comes, that the Antichrist makes a covenant with Israel for 1 week. And that is not a week like 7 days, that's a week of years, of 7 years. When the Antichrist makes a covenant, well, here's what I know. I know that the Antichrist can't come until I'm gone, and we'll get to that in a little bit. We'll get to that point and that place in this scripture. He said unto me, unto 2,300, 6 months and 38 days is what it amounts to. And it came to pass when I, Daniel, seen the vision and sought the meaning, then behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man. So if you're one of them people that like winged angels, this one's going to disappoint you. Because it was Gabriel. Gabriel's one of the chief angels mentioned, and he didn't look like a winged feminine character. He looked like a man. He said, I beheld a man. And I heard a man's voice on the banks of Ulai, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision. So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid, fell upon my face. But he said unto me, understand, O son of man, for the time of the end shall be the vision. See, a lot of the things that Daniel was told, he couldn't even tell. Later on in the 12th chapter, he told Daniel, seal them up. Because they're just for the time of the end. They're not for now. It's not for everybody to know. Let me tell you this. You don't have to know all the mysteries You don't have to understand all the prophecies. You don't have to have your theology right on all of those things. You got to just know that Jesus is coming. And He's coming for a church without spot and without wrinkle. And you got to know that you got to be ready for in such an hour as you think not the Son of Man coming. Yep. It's not I'm going to get ready, not I'm planning on being ready. You got to be ready. Amen. Amen. Now, as He was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground, but He touched me and set me upright. And He said, Behold, I will make thee to know what shall be in the last end of the indignation, for the time appointed, the end shall be. How many believes God's got a timetable? And that timetable will be fulfilled. And you know what? You can sing that old song, wait a little longer, please Jesus. And He is not going to wait. He's coming in a day and an hour that's already been determined in God's plan. And when He comes, He's coming for a church without spot and without wrinkle. The ram which thou sawest had 2 horns, and are the kings of the Medes and the Persians. And the rough goat is the king of Grecia, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. That would have been Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great died in his early 20s of alcoholism. He sat down and died of alcoholism, drank himself to death because there was no more world to conquer. He had conquered all the known world at that time. When his kingdom disappeared, out of his kingdom, 4 generals divided that kingdom up, and it split up into 4 different parts. It never was up to the par of what he had, but they were there. Now that being broken, whereas 4 stood up for it, kingdom shall stand out of the nation, but not in his power. They won't be what he was. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressions are come to full, a king of fierce counsel, understanding dark sentences, shall stand up. And his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. He shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper, and shall practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. Is there anybody here? Well, I'll just explain. You know what prophetic perspective is? Do you understand that sometimes between one verse and another verse that thousands of years have transpired? You remember when Jesus went into the temple and He said, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He has anointed me to preach liberty to the captive, give sight to the blind. And He closed the book and He sat down and He told them, this day is this scripture fulfilled in your eyes. Well, the next line that Jesus didn't quote talked about His second coming. And the reason Jesus didn't talk about it that day, because His second coming was way on down the line. So thousands of years can transpire between a single verse sometimes. And through His policy, through the Antichrist policy, also He shall cause craft or business or commerce to prosper in His hand. He shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. But he shall stand up against the prince of princes, and he shall be broken without end. Understand this, we win. Somebody say Jesus has got it all handled. He'll take care of the Antichrist when the time comes. But all of this is part of the plan. The key is don't be here when this part of it's going on. The key is make sure you're gone when the Antichrist sets up his kingdom. It is the 70th week of Daniel. And we'll get to that and talk about that in a little. And the vision of the evening and the morning which was told is true. Somebody say the whole book's true. Amen. Every bit of it. Every line, every jot, every tittle, it's all true. And let me tell you, until you line your life up with this book, your chaos is going to be continued as an ongoing process. Line your life up with this book. What did you tell us yesterday, John? When you spend that a long time with God, you're getting yourself back in order. You're getting yourself lined up with God. And when you get away from that old chaos, that old reminder of how frail we are, but don't concentrate on how frail we are. Concentrate on how great He is.
Amen.
Wherefore, shut thou up the vision, for it shall be for many days. In other words, Daniel, I'm telling you this, but you're not going to be able to let it out of the bag. There's a whole lot about it we don't know, but I do know this. Jesus said, let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not true, I would have told you. And he said, I'm going to prepare a place for you, and if I go, I'm going to come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there you may be also. How many is planning on going when He comes? Amen. And I, Daniel, fainted and was sick certain days. I'm going to tell you what, if you had the encounter he had, you probably would be too. Afterward, I rose up and did the king's business, and I was astonished at the vision, but none understood it. It was a mystery. It was something that, matter of fact, Peter wrote and said, when those Old Testament prophets prophesied and when all these things were revealed to them, it said they searched what manner of thing this was. They had no idea of what was going on. But anyway, God revealed it to him so we would have it. Daniel predicted or had revelation. Daniel wasn't a predictor of the future. He had revelation of the future before it ever took place. Oh Lord, forgive, Lord, hearken, and do. Here's Daniel's prayer. Daniel's praying. Defer not for thine own sake, O my God, for thy city and thy people are called by my name. He's praying for his people, which are the Jewish nation. He's praying for Jerusalem, which is his city. And while I was speaking and praying, confessing my sin and the sins of my people Israel, and presenting my supplication before the Lord my God for the holy mountain of my God. I know Jesus is coming, and I know things look bad, but let me tell you, that doesn't give us a right to sit down and give up on our own country. No. If my people, which are called by name, this is what Daniel was doing, shall humble themselves and pray. He said, then I'll hear from heaven, and I'll heal their land. I know we have a part in all this. I will tell you that the United States has been the greatest country that's ever been, but it won't always be. It will be brought down. It'll have to be, because the Antichrist is going to rule over the whole world, and that would never happen as long as we're who we are. But let me tell you what, my salvation is not hung on the Constitution. I love it. I support it. But my salvation is not hung on the Declaration of Independence. It's hung on a relationship with Jesus Christ. And it doesn't matter whatever state I find myself in. Paul said, I've learned to be content, whatever condition comes my way. Yea, while I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me about the time of the evening oblation. And he informed me and talked with me and said, O Daniel, I am now come forth to give thee skill and understanding. Ask God right now, God, would you give me understanding concerning all these end-time things? Would you help me to accept what I don't know as truth, and help me to study to show myself approved? At the beginning of thy supplication, the commandment came forth, and I am come to show thee, for thou art greatly beloved. Therefore understand the matter and consider the vision. 70 weeks. This is the key to all biblical prophecy. If you want to understand biblical prophecy, understand this portion of Scripture right here, and it'll help all the rest of it to fall into place. This revelation given to Daniel. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city. I wish I had the time today, and maybe a mathematician here with me. Sir Richard Anderson, back, probably the 15th or 16th century, used the Jewish calendar and went back and calculated all the Passovers. And he found the Passover where the wall was built. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people, upon thy city. Why? To finish the transgression, to make an end of sin, to make a reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness. When's everlasting righteousness going to be set up on this earth? When Jesus touches the Mount of Olives with his foot and sets up his millennial kingdom, is the only time there's ever going to be. Matter of fact, it says the bells on the horses will have wholeness unto the Lord. This earth will be renovated. It'll only last 1,000 years, and then New Jerusalem's going to come down, but during that 1,000-year reign of Jesus, it will be a glorious place. Matter of fact, Isaiah described it and said the lion's going to lay down by the lamb, and a hole's going to play by a child's going to play by the hole of a poisonous snake. The fierce nature that was given to animals during the curse will be removed, and the curse on the earth, the thorns and the thistles, will all be removed, and it'll be like a Garden of Eden for 1,000 years. And we'll live and reign with Jesus. And you know, as hard as it is to believe after, there'll be a lot of people born during 1,000 years. And living it, there'll be people in mortal bodies here, and there'll be people in immortal bodies here. Those that were caught up in the rapture will come back immortal. You're not going to have to face it again, but those that are still here on earth during that 1,000-year reign or born during that time are still subject to fall away. As a matter of fact, at the end of that 1,000-year reign, it said the devil is loosed out of that pit he's been in for 1,000 years. He's been locked away. And by the way, when the devil got locked up, God didn't send a whole horde of angels. He sent one little private angel and cast the devil into the bottom. And Isaiah said in another place, on that day when they look at him, they're going to say, is that him? That little thing? Is he the one that terrified the nations? He's the one that puffed himself up and made you think he's something? Let me tell you, the devil has no power over you, no authority over you. Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. You need to rise up and claim your liberty and proclaim the power of the Lord. Live in victory. Don't live in defeat. Don't sit around and worry about all the things that might happen or could happen. God's going to carry you through. Just hold on. I always say it's like Disney. You buckle your seatbelt, you stay in the ride till it comes to a complete stop, and take off and go with it. Amen. He's going to make an end of sin. He's going to bring in everlasting righteousness. He's going to seal up the vision and prophecy. There won't be no need for vision and prophecy when Jesus comes, because we'll know. Right now we're looking through a glass darkly, but then we're going to see him face to face. When the seventh trumpet of God blows, we'll know. He's going to seal up the vision and the prophecy, and you know what he's going to do? He's going to anoint the most holy. And we know who that is. Know therefore and understanding from the going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks, or a total of 69 periods of 360-day years. Matter of fact, if we had time, I could calculate it out for you and show you that it's 173,880 days exactly. God has it precise. You want to know when that commandment was? That commandment was a lot of people think it was Cyrus' commandment. Cyrus did make a commandment today, the one this was talking about. The one this was talking about is when Nehemiah went before Artaxerxes Longimanus. How'd you like to have that name on the first day of kindergarten? Writing that across the top of your page. Little Artaxerxes going to kindergarten. Nehemiah was his cupbearer. If you don't know what a cupbearer was, before the king took a drink, he took a little sip, and the king watched him. And if he didn't fall over, the king took it and said, okay. He was the taster. He was the guy that made sure it was all right. But this day when he come in before the king, he was of sad countenance. He said, why are you so sad, Nehemiah? I've never seen you like this. What's going on with you? He said, well, my city back up there is torn down. The walls are broken down. It's laying waste. And my people are just scattered everywhere, and I'm just feeling bad about it. Nehemiah proclaimed the commandment that Nehemiah and a few of his fellows could go back up to rebuild Jerusalem, put the walls back up, reset the gates. Matter of fact, he ordered his people to gather timbers for them, to gather material for them, send them back with a great band. When they got there, the enemies of Israel, there's always been enemies of Israel. The enemies of Israel told them, what are you trying to do, you feebles? Even a fox brushed against that wall and fallen. Hey, they didn't have a Home Depot. They were building out of the rubble that was there, rebuilding a wall. It's like putting a puzzle together. Oh no, wait a minute, this rock fits better than that rock. Let me put that one here. And they were laying rocks with one hand and had a sword in the other hand, fighting off. But you know what it said? It said the wall was built even in troublesome times. You may have to fight a fight. You may have to go through a battle. But thank God, he has overcome. I have overcome. Ain't no weapon formed against me going to prosper. I'm going to make it all the way home, no matter how dark, how bad, how black, how evil it may become. Greater is he that is in me. I'm going to make it. Amen. He said, the street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublesome times. Now then, remember, he prescribed 70 weeks against Daniel's people and against Daniel's city. 69 of those weeks, 173,880 days, were fulfilled to the letter from the time the commandment went forth in Nehemiah until Jesus was crucified. How do you know when Jesus was crucified? You go back to the Passovers and you read about when he was crucified, and it'll tell you exactly the day. And my mind is kind of, when you get old, you don't remember stuff you used to remember. Anyway, I can tell you those dates at midnight tonight. Give me your phone number and I'll call you. He said it's going to be built. It's not a matter of if. Hey, this is long before they were ever even torn down. And now then, he's saying they're going to be rebuilt. He said after 62 weeks, Messiah shall be cut off. Before the 62, you know, there were 7. So after 69 weeks, he's going to be cut off. He's going to be crucified. But not for himself. You understand, he wasn't crucified for his benefit. He was crucified for our benefit. Yes. He was wounded for our transgression. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him. And by his stripes you were healed. Physically, spiritually, and every other way. Oh, well, I'm still hurting. Well, I don't care if you're still hurting. I'm going to tell you, you're healed. I want to tell you, you're an overcomer. They told my wife she might have 5 weeks or 5 months, and now they say maybe 5 years. And she talked to a lady at Social Security Disability this week, so she's applied, and she told her, you know, that's what they say, but, you know, only God knows. But let me tell you, if I die tomorrow, or she dies tomorrow, or you die tomorrow, if you're saved, it won't matter a bit. It just don't matter. Amen. Don't worry about that. Quit spending your life in fear of what could happen or what might happen. Quit borrowing from tomorrow. Jesus said, sufficient unto the day is the trouble thereof. Amen. Has anybody ever had anything unexpected happen on a day when you weren't expecting? Yeah. Welcome to planet Earth, as a friend of mine used to say. No, wait a minute, that was me. And he shall confirm the covenant for 1 week. Talking about the Antichrist. He will confirm a covenant with Israel for 7 years. Now then, I don't know how quickly the Antichrist will take power after the rapture of the church. I just know that he will. I don't know if it'll be a day, a month, how long it'll take to solidify his power, but it'll be pretty quick. And when he's in that position of power, And all those that have been the enemy of Israel, he will be their friend. He will do what nobody else has ever been able to do. He'll get Israel to lay down their weapons and to be at ease in Zion. They'll trust him. They'll think he's their long-awaited Messiah. That's why they didn't like Jesus, because he didn't ride in on a white horse. Because he didn't come with an army. He wasn't a general. He didn't take over the world and make Israel his partner. That's why they rejected him. He was meek and lowly. He said, I'm meek and lowly. Amen. And that's why they rejected him. He'll make a covenant. And in the midst of the week, see, the first 3.5 years of the tribulation period, Antichrist will do pretty good. Things start to fall apart almost immediately, but they don't get real bad till the middle of the tribulation. In the middle of the tribulation, he says, I got to do something. So he sets himself up in the newly built temple. You could read about it in Matthew. It's called the abomination of desolation. He sets himself up in the temple, and he says, I am God, and I ought to be worshipped. You say, well, that's weird. Nobody falls. Hey, in the Roman Empire, they had statues of Caesar all over the place. And when you passed by that statue of Caesar, you had to stop and do obedience and offer some kind of an offering to Caesar. You had to worship Caesar. Hey, in North Korea, you know why Kim and all of those boys ruled that land? Why his grandfather did? And they believed that they were divinely appointed, given that power to be the purveyors of atrocities that they are. They think they're divine. Just to make sure, Kim had his brother killed, and his sister better watch what she eats for breakfast. He's going to make a covenant. In the midst of it, he's going to break that. He's going to set him up in the temple as God. And for the overspreading of desolations, he shall make it desolate, even to the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. Revelation 6:1, when I saw the Lamb open one of the seals, I heard, as it were, the promise, the noise of thunder, and 1 and 4 beasts saying, come and see. And I saw, and behold, a white horse. Now wait a minute, there's two white horses. This is the first white horse. The next one's the one you're looking for, not this one. He said, I saw a white horse, and he that sat upon him had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. This is not Jesus on his white horse. This is the Antichrist on that white horse, coming in that symbol of power, that white horse that symbolized power to conquer. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the beast say, come and see. And there went out another horse that was red. And power was given him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him great sword. In other words, war is going to break out all over the place. I don't know if that's the war that's all that I believe will take place before this, but anyway, peace is going to be taken from the earth. War. Now look what follows war. And when he opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see. And I saw, and lo, a black horse. And he that sat upon him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the beast say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil in the wine. What that's telling you, it's going to get to the point that it will take a day's wages to buy a piece of bread. Gold won't be worth anything. Bread will be the rare commodity, but it'll take a day's wages, because that's what a penny was. It was a day's wages. And it'll take a day's wages for them to buy a piece of bread during this time. Here's what I'm trying to tell you. You don't want to be here.
Amen.
You don't want to be here. Well, I've got it figured out, you know. I'm not for him and I'm not against him. Listen to the words of the Lord. If you're not for me, you are against me. If you don't gather with me, you're scattering abroad. There is no middle ground.
That's right.
There is no place of neutrality. You can't just say, well, I'm not going to make a decision one way or the other. Well, you've already made a decision. Yep. God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, that the world through him might be saved. He that believeth on him is not condemned, but he that believeth not is condemned already, because he's not believed on the name of the only begotten Son of God. If you're not saved today and you don't know Jesus, you need to find an altar. You can do it now. You don't have to wait for an invitation. Amen. Well, hello. I guess I died. I did die. Come and put me some badges. When he'd opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, come and see. This is the fourth horse. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse. The name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed him. Power was given him over a fourth part of the earth to kill with the sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beast of the earth. Now let me bring you back a little bit. You remember that war we talked about that's described in Ezekiel 38 and 39? It said they're going to come like a cloud down against Israel, but God's going to intervene, and 5, count it, 5 out of every 6 is going to die. So a great horde of people have already died. And now then, 1/4 of the entire population of earth is going to die at this time. There's another place on further down we may get to, we may not, where a third die. There's a place where the waters are turned to blood. And every living creature that is in the sea and in the rivers and all that. I used to live by Lake Michigan. I lived about as far as from here to the parsonage from Lake Michigan. Every year in June in Lake Michigan, the shad die. And when the shad die, they float up on the beach. And they take bulldozers and bulldoze them under, because for about a month the stench is so bad when you go out of your house, you almost gag from dead fish. Let me tell you, when every living creature in the sea and in the rivers and all of them turn to blood, what a place it's going to be. Again, somebody say it. You don't want to be here. Make sure you've got your reservation and that you call on the name of the Lord. Because whosoever, you don't have to understand it, you have to have faith. Where do you get that faith? You ask him for it. You're saved by grace through faith, and that not of yourself, it's a gift of God. God will give you the faith to receive the grace. Amen. Power was given him over a fourth part of the earth to kill with sword, hunger, death, and with the beasts of the earth, wild animals devouring people. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw the beast rise out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. It's a total renouncement of God. It's the devil one more time trying to say, I'm it, I'm supreme, I'm the head. The Antichrist is going to be the devil incarnated. You understand that? He's going to be the opposite of what Jesus was. He was God incarnate. He was God with us. This will be the devil with us, even though he'll be proclaiming that he's not. Amen. And the beast which I saw was likened to a leopard, and his feet were the feet of a bear, his mouth as the mouth of a lion, and a dragon gave his power and his seat and great authority. The devil gave all that power to him. And I saw one of his heads as it was wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and the world wondered after the beast. Well, look here. We're going to have a false resurrection. The Antichrist has been killed. He's laying in the streets. The world is looking at him and wondering after him, saying, wow, we thought he was it. And they worshiped the dragon, which gave power to the beast, and they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like it to the beast, who is able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things, blasphemous power was given him to continue 42 months. 360 years, 40 and 2 months, half of the tribulation period, or 1260 days and 1260 days. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme the name and his tabernacle on them that dwelt in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds, tongues, and nations. Nobody's going to escape. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. What time is it? 12:30 yet? What time is it? 12:15 already. We may have to continue this. I may have to leave you with a cliffhanger and you come back later and get the rest of it. If any man here, do you know what? You know what is repeated over and over in Revelation? Not just once, but several times. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith to the churches. Yeah, Tim, come on and play for me. We'll stop it there and I'll pick it up somewhere along here tonight. We'll finish this thing up. I knew it was going to be a lot, but anyway, we got done what we can. Here's what I'm trying to tell you. We've all sinned and come short of the glory of God. Everybody here, myself included. But let me tell you, one night in the bedroom of my home, I said to Jesus, well, to tell you the truth, I can't tell you what I said. I'm sure I told him, and I knew that I was lost, that I needed him, and what you got to tell him is, I know I've sinned and come short of your glory, and I want you to save me. And he will. If you call on him, he'll save you. But I don't understand. You don't have to understand. You have to accept by faith the Word of God. And then what he'll do once you do that, he'll begin to teach you. I tell you, when I got saved, I don't know about everybody else, but when I got saved, I got a hunger in me for the Word of God. I would get lost in it. I would read it for hours on end, and somebody would have to tell me, you going to do anything else today? I'd just get lost in it. I looked for excuses. I used to carry my Bible. I was working in construction at that time. I carried my Bible with me. I read it every time I had a chance. At lunch, I'd sit down and have a break. Anybody remember when the movie The Late Great Planet Earth was out and they showed it? Well, I had 60 men in my crew, and they never paid me any mind, sitting over there by myself while they were over telling their stories and cussing and carrying on. They never paid any attention to me sitting over there by the game box on a 5-gallon bucket, reading my Bible and eating my lunch. But the night after that movie come on, they all come up and said, what about that? Did you see that? Is that going to happen? I was the foreman, so I took the liberty of giving them a long lunch break that day. And we had church for about the next hour and a half. Several of them prayed. I don't know if they continued or not, but several of them prayed. I tell you, God will give you chances if He'll give you divine appointments. Don't hide your light under a bushel. Let it shine. Matter of fact, I used to buy Bibles and had them all over construction sites, hoping somebody would steal one. You know they won't steal Bibles. They'll steal tools. If you lay a tool down, it'll be gold. If you don't have it painted fluorescent orange or bright yellow to identify it as yours, they'll tell you, well, that's bad. You're lying. But they won't steal a Bible. I'd put them out, have to go gather them back up, but I kept putting them out, hoping someday somebody would grab a hold of one, maybe read it. Did you hear what the Spirit said to you? Jesus said it's a time like never has been nor never shall be. See, it's not enough to think you're saved or to hope you're saved. One fellow, I said to him one time, asked him, was he saved? He said, well, I hope so. Well, hope so won't get it. Hope so won't get it. You got to know that you know. Your name is written down in the Lamb's Book of Life. Prayer warriors, come on, get ready. If you want to know Jesus as your Lord and Savior, get out of your seat and ask these men to pray with you that God will give you the faith to receive the grace that you can escape this terrible time that's coming upon all the earth. If you have a need of any kind, if you are saved and there's something troubling you, let them pray for you.
There is coming a day when no heartache shall come, no more tears to dim the eye.
Jesus is coming.
What a day that will be when my Jesus I shall see. When I look upon His face, the one who saved me by His grace, takes me by the hand, Jesus leads me to the promised land. What a day, glorious day that will be. There'll be no sorrow there, no more burdens to bear, no more sickness, no pain, no mourning over there. Ever I will be with the one who died for me. And what a day, oh glorious day that will be. What a day that will be.
How about it?
My Jesus,
Are you ready?
I shall see.
Well, we told somebody one time the Lord would come and they said, well, I've heard that all my life. Maybe. Hey, you might die tonight.
By the
You might die today. Are you ready? Are you ready?
What a day
Your name is not written in the Lamb's Book of Life. You're not ready.
that will be.
Somebody told me that if I miss the rapture, as long as I don't take the mark during the tribulation, I'll be okay. Is that true? No, it's a lie. Because if you can't live for God right now, while the Holy Spirit is here, while the Word of God is being preached, don't think you're going to make it when the Antichrist is ruling and reigning over this earth and the devil himself. The only people that will be saved during the tribulation is the Jews, because it was intended for them. The tribulation has nothing to do with Gentile. It's the 70th week of Daniel for his people, for his holy city. Praise God. Angels in heaven are rejoicing. Had one saved this morning. It was worth it all. Whether you understood it or not, it's worth it all. Angels are having a celebration and we ought to too. Amen. And let me tell you, that's just a starting point, brother. That's just a starting point. Grow in Him, grow in grace, grow in knowledge. If you don't have a church, you found one. Get in here and grow with us. Amen. Amen. If you need a Bible, we'll give you one. Won't you go round one up for me? They're in that little desk right inside my office door. Okay. Stand with me if you would. Brother John asked God to dismiss us.